Welcome to Anonymous Automotive. This is an episode of Driven in Disguise, where I review a vehicle after real-world ownership. The criteria for Driven in Disguise is a minimum of 1 month and 1,000 miles, so you get a real honest review from somebody who's lived with the vehicle. Today we're reviewing the Peugeot 5008 Tetrol. This is the all-year spec. It also comes in a plug-in hybrid and a full electric, and 2 higher specs available in this particular model. It's a family SUV 5+2 with the competitors of the Skoda Kodiaq, the Nissan X-Trail, the VW Tiguan Altspace. Let's start by taking a look at the exterior. It's quite a formidable looking vehicle. Square, boxy, sharp lines, and some OEMs a few years ago have split away their brand to make a more sporty and aggressive sub-brand. For example, Kia and Cupra have split. We had the same with Citroen and DS. Peugeot have stuck to the same brand. However, when they've changed their badge from the conventional lion to the face, you can see some distinctive changes in their styling. So starting from the front, we've got a really aggressive looking front with this grille here that kind of blends into the body. The larger new Peugeot style badge. This compartment here for some of the radars and sensors, and very distinctive headlights. Narrow, and you've got the lion claws coming down here, blending into the headlights here, and that theme follows straight across to the back as well. So on this all-year stack, we have 19-inch alloy wheels. However, looking at the configurator recently, the all-year stack now comes at 18 wheels and 19 on the GT and GT Premium spec. So they must have changed their marketing within the last few months. But quite an aggressive style wheel, black with this diamond cut polish in a few locations. Wide mirror here on the side, octagonal shape. Folding available on all specs as standard. As we move back, sharp lines and privacy tints on the back available as standard. And at the back, we have this piano black strip with the rear lights, again following the theme with the 3 lion claws coming down. Peugeot branding here. Moving down, we have a very clever reverse camera, which we'll come on to a bit later, as it has a clever dual function. Hidden exhausts and reverse parking sensors, which are standard on the Allure, and you get front sensors on the other specs. So let's take a look at this interior. Firstly, 5 spacious seats, but it's this really cool panoramic cockpit. A huge widescreen here, floating display, which is actually a central display and a driver instrument cluster 2-in-1. We have this configurable panel touchscreen, which is a replacement for conventional switches. And we have this really cool small steering wheel, which is a theme in the Peugeot lineup for the last couple of years. I really like it. On the dash here, we have this really nice light grey carpet fabric. Plastic on the top. And then on the doors, you've got a semi-hard leather on the top. Again, this fabric follows it around. Some honeycomb effect over here. We have scratchy plastics, but it's as you kind of go knee length down. But overall, it's a really cool interior. And often, when someone jumps in, they do say, I can't believe this is a Peugeot. So it shows the lengths that they've improved in the last few years. My first point of annoyance are the mats. This vehicle cost over £40,000, and the Allure spec doesn't come with any mats. I think when you're paying over 40k, mats should be a standard feature. These seats at the front are really comfortable. We've got sporty bits on the side, which hold you in. Fabric on the bottom, partial leather, and a fairly comfortable movable headrest. We have 3 spacious seats at the back. These seats here are reclining and sliding. So sliding forward and back to help with the third row, which we'll come on to. You do have a small amount of recline using the lever here. So you get a couple of inches extra, which always helps. We have USB-C charging points and a 12-volt cigar socket here. And it's independently controlled climate, which you can lock to stop kids from fiddling around. It's not a conventional bench as you find in some seats. The 3 seats are fairly independent, and you've got these kind of side thigh supports, which if you're slim, it's fine. If you're slightly wider, you may find those are comfortable, but it's not a deal breaker. There's loads of headroom in here, fair amount of width. And if you move across to the middle seat, a bit tighter. With 3 adults, it may be a bit of a squeeze, but it's one of the wider cars in the segment, and I think this is fairly comfortable. We'll look at how this is affected by having 2 Isofix seats side by side later on. On the back of the seat here, we have a really deep seat pocket, and it's not one of those nets, so whatever you put in here is hidden, probably forgotten about, but it's good storage to have. Moving on to the back door, we continue with the same grey fabric, honeycomb effect here, rear electric windows, and under higher specs, this is a manual blind. Okay, so looking at the tech in this vehicle, mention the steering wheel. We've got ADAS features on the left hand side. This being the Allure spec, it only really has cruise control and it's not adaptive. So that's what we've got over here. On the right hand side, we've got audio controls, voice assistance. It does have a package with ChatGPT voice, which I haven't subscribed for. Stalks on either side, wiper control here, light control here, auto headlights, auto wipers. Very basic, but all work well. So with this panoramic cockpit display, there's 2 parts. On the right hand side is the instrument cluster, obviously speedo, warnings and bells. It's configurable through the switch over here. You can change the view. So on this view here, you can see power and eco. And in this further view, brings up the native navigation from the center display into this cluster over here. On the central display, you have the embedded navigation. It's okay. It's not my favorite. You can swipe across to multiple different views. And then you've got this configurable panel over here, which you can hold and change the order of things as you prefer. We've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which most users just defer to anyway. Let's talk about the climate. I've complained about this on vehicles before, and it's no different this time. There are a few hard keys here for demist and to turn the climate on and off. But again, it's one too many presses. You have to turn the climate on, and then you get the adjustments for fan speed and for temperature. I'd prefer if it was hard keys for climate. It works quite well, but if you're on CarPlay, I want to adjust the climate, I'd have to go climate here or climate up here and then adjust. And if I want to adjust the rear, I've got to go one step into it, activate the rear climate controls, and then modify it. So it's too many touches for me. We have a drive mode selector button here, which you can change from eco, normal, and sport. It changes the theme color, makes the steering a little bit more receptive, and the acceleration a little bit more instantaneous. And then we have a gear selector here, which I personally quite like. It works well, whether it be in auto, you normally put into drive, and that's it. But we do also have flatty titles on the steering wheel. This car is 6-speed auto. The plug-in hybrid is 7-speed auto. So you can play around manually with the gears if you like. So I've mentioned this car has CarPlay. The first bug I will mention is that my phone is paired as a second phone in this vehicle, and whenever I get into it to drive, it can take up to a minute, sometimes a minute and a half, for my phone to pair with the vehicle. I think the timer they've got in the engineering needs to be reduced to start looking for the second phone much quicker. And a bug I've seen fairly often is that it doesn't connect to CarPlay at all. If I then try and disconnect and repair, it shows us it's connected. Now, I haven't seen this for the last month or so. There may have been a software over the update that's fixed it. But on some occasions, this can be a bit of a problem. It's one of those things that if it's fixed, it's fine. I'll keep a note and see if I see this issue again. So I mentioned my first bugbear with this car was no carpet mats. The second one is no heated seats. There's a few features for me which are a deal breaker. One is CarPlay, rear parking sensors, and cruise control. However, with age, heated seats are becoming more of a standard feature for me rather than a luxury. And I think when you're paying over 40k, heated seats should be available. We have a useful wireless phone charger here with a clever indicator. I like having the indicator here as a visual to know it's charging rather than a silly icon on display. It works well, it's quite fast, and it's quite easy to get your phone in and out, unlike some other vehicles. I mentioned earlier, this car has a reverse camera, but it's really clever. If I pop it into reverse here, it shows the reverse camera, and it's kind of 360 overlay, which is grayed out in most areas. Now, as I start to reverse, you'll see here that this is populating the area that I've driven past. So what it's doing here, it's using this reverse camera to record the parts of the road that I pass. Now, the difference between this and a conventional 360 camera is if I walk past the front of this vehicle now, it won't show me because it's a recorded image. But I think it's quite useful. As an engineer, it's showing some sort of ingenuity to use one reverse camera to provide a partial 360 bird's eye camera system. Moving on to storage, we've got this central compartment here with a couple of dividers, and quite a cool feature. It's quite deep in here, and there is a nozzle which I can't show you, but I can feel it, which opens up a vent and allows cool air to come through. So you can get a couple of cans in here which stay super cold. Got a compartment over here with two USB-C charging sockets and a 12-volt cigar socket. It's a bit fiddly because this lid here leaves a bit of a gap which cables often get trapped in and kind of get stuck, but it's a useful space. And then we have a not so useful glove box, kind of has this strange divider. Now, if the service book gets bent by putting it in there, you know it's too small. We've also got two large cup holders here in the front. Fits all types of bottles, and it's got these spring-loaded constraints to stop things from moving around. And if you're fond of cup holders, please subscribe. We have these huge door pockets. You can fit large size bottles and all sorts in here. However, scratchy plastics, and there's no felt at the bottom, so you do feel things rotting around as you drive. We've spoken about the exterior. We've had a look at the interior. We've had a look at the tech. Let's jump in and see what it's like to drive. Okay, and we're off. So as I mentioned, this is the 1.2 MHEV petrol, 6-speed automatic, and you can use the floppy paddles if you like. The acceleration isn't rapid, as you'd expect for a fairly small engine on a large car. However, I'd say it's just about sufficient. A bit of extra power would be appreciated, but generally when exiting a service station to enter the motorway or overtaking, there is enough power to get you where you want to be. but it's probably at the bare minimum of what you need. There is a little bit of character in the noise. It reminds me of the Ford EcoBoost engine from the Fiesta and Focus in the early 2010s, but in a totally different type of vehicle. But the acceleration is smooth. There isn't a huge amount to talk about. It's a conventional petrol MHEV engine. It's the base spec, so there aren't too many bells and whistles. For everything it does well. I've driven a few miles, less than 8,000 miles in this vehicle over the last 9 months, including a trip to Paris and back from the Midlands, and it didn't miss a beat. So I think all round usability and practicality is exactly right. Okay, so it was cold when I got in. The heating was on the highest, and I did mention previously to change the temperature. It involves a couple of presses, either climate here or here. I go into climate, I then manually drop it down, and I can sync both sides. Again, I prefer if there was some physical controls. This road here isn't the smoothest. We can feel a small amount of vibration through the wheels, but generally the suspension on this vehicle is soft, it's comfortable. And as we enter a larger roundabout here with a slightly faster section of road, again, the handling is fine. It's not a sports car, but it doesn't feel like you're driving a tank. And again, we can drop the gears manually using the paddles.
And the braking is also smooth. The start-stop
works well and doesn't give you that delay you find in some vehicles. I've got no complaints about the wiper click. And here there is no real wind noise or road noise when you hit 50 or 60. And on the braking is true and straight. Now, with this being the Allure spec, it has cruise control, but that's the only ADAS feature it has. I don't think there's any point demonstrating cruise control. It's a feature that's been out for almost 20 years. It does have traffic sign recognition, which over the last 9 months has dropped up a couple of weird nuances, where it showed 80 in the UK and randomly shows 5 miles an hour in your 30 mile an hour road. But generally it works quite well. And it has a gentle overspeed warning, which kind of has a heartbeat type beat going on in the background. It does feel like an SUV. There's a definite step up when you're entering the vehicle, but it doesn't feel overly wide, even through narrow country roads or small villages. There's a good amount of visibility from the front. The air pillars are not too obtrusive, and there is a reasonable amount of visibility through the back window. With this being the base spec, there is no blind spot monitoring, but we do have a semi-assisted lane departure warning kind of vibration. This car doesn't have a Google ecosystem. It's got its native infotainment system and its own speech assistants. I found the tuning by voice is a bit inconsistent, but we can try that now. Tune to Talk Sport. Tune to Capital. Tune to Radio 1. I have had instances where it's failed, but it seems to be performing well now, so thumbs up. If I jump across to this display here, it shows whether I'm using the battery in eco mode. When I put my foot down further, it jumps into power, and then when you're coasting, it goes into charge. So there's a nice indicator there of what's happening with the hybrid system. So we spoke about the 360 or the fake 360 camera system earlier. We'll just now demonstrate what that's like in real life use. So we're in the car park. I'm in reverse. As you can see, it's got a reverse camera, but none of this is populated. And as I head back towards the space, it starts to populate this picture on the right hand side. Which I think is quite useful. Okay, let's take a look at the boot. Now my third bugbear with this vehicle is the boot opening is this, not this or this, which I'm quite used to, which means it doesn't have an automatic tailgate opening and it doesn't have automatic tailgate closing, which again, for more than £40,000, I expect to see that as standard. Now that is available on the GT and GT Premium models, but not on the Elio. In the boot here, we have this retractable parcel shelf and the third row seating, which we'll come on to in a moment. We've got some hooks here, some tie backs for the third row seat belts. And one clever thing I like about this car is that you can take off this shelf. You've got some more deeper storage here, but it allows you to fully hide this parcel shelf in this section here. there's a bit of a knock of doing it. This side goes in first. We put this in here. Fully hidden away. So let's do the standard 2 large suitcase test, and then we'll take it one step further like I've done previously. So with the parcel shelf still fitted, 2 large suitcases fit in fine, and there's still a decent amount of room here if you want to put more bags in. Let's now do the full test with the 2 sets of family size suitcases and see what we can fit. So I've taken out the parcel shelf. Let's see if I can fit in the full sets of 2 family suitcases. So we have 2 large, 2 medium, and 2 small. So as you can see, I'm going to 3 large, 2 large, 2 medium, and 2 small. This fits easily. And there is still a lot of room for handbags, purses, other small rucksacks. So it definitely fits all of the required luggage for 2 full family size suitcases. We do also have a 12 volt cigar socket in the back over here as well. So this vehicle is a 5+2, which means it has 2 occasional 3rd row seats, which are fully mechanical, so no silly buttons and motors. You just basically pull them up, lift the headrest, and they're popped into space. Now there are still a small amount of storage behind the seats. You can fit some cabin sized cases in there. Or if you remove this shelf and throw the parcel shelf cover in the house, you can put some deeper cases in as well. So now we've got the 3rd row up. Let's check if an adult can fit in the bag and if it's comfortable. So to get into the 3rd row, we need to pull one of the side seats forward. There's a lever up here which pulls the whole seat all the way forward, and we get in. So I can get in the back. It's fairly dignified, but once in the back, there is no real space for my knee, and this seat is not going to go back in the position it was before. These do slide forward, so I will have enough room to sit here. However, then you've lost most of the room from that 2nd row. So this is really just for kids. And to put these 3rd row seats back down, we drop the headrest, and we use these. There are fabric levers here to push. Now, with the 2nd row in the position fully back, which is the normal position, they do go down. It just requires a bit of manual intervention. And again, one of the questions I'm always asked is, can an adult fit between 2 Isofix seats? So is the 5th seat useful? Let's put in some Isofix seats and see how we get on. Just before we fit in the seats, I want to mention for Isofix, it's only available on the middle row on the outer 2 seats. There's no Isofix on the 3rd row. There's no Isofix at the front. And you have to open these. There are zips here to get to the Isofix bracket, out to further little plastic removal cups that you get on a lot of other vehicles. So now we've got those fitted. Let me jump inside and see how comfortable it is sitting between the 2. So I'm sat here in between both of these seats. I think waist and leg room is fine. My back fits in fine. I think it's just an issue with shoulders. I'd struggle to sit here for a long time, but if it's a short drive, it's not too bad. It's manageable, and again, for a small child, it's perfectly fine. Even for a slim teenager, it's fine for a reasonable distance. It's not the worst, but it's not a proper 5th full-time seat. The Peugeot 5008 starts at £40,470, and that's for the Allure spec in the MHEV hybrid engine. There is a GT spec for £44,070 and then a GT Premium, which is £45,570. The plug-in hybrid adds £3,000 on top, which is then a 7-speed auto, and the full electric starts from £48,000 for the lower range 73 kilowatt hour battery, goes up to £51,000 for the 97 kilowatt battery. And if you look for the GT Premium, you can then select the dual motor 4-wheel drive electric version, which jumps up to £57,290. There are 6 colours available: Titanium Grey, Ingaro Blue, Nera Black, Obsession Blue, Cumulus Grey, and Okinite White. The Allure spec comes with reverse camera and rear parking sensors, keyless entry, push button start, flat blade wipers with integrating washers, rear tinted windows, wireless smartphone charger, connected navigation and over-the-air updates, cruise control with advanced emergency brakes. If you jump up to the GT spec, you have a reversing camera with front and rear parking sensors. You have a hands-free smart tailgate or electric tailgate, which is foot operated, a heated steering wheel, tri-zone climate control, a black diamond floating effect spoiler, black diamond roof, gloss black roof rails. It comes with extended ambient lighting. You get carpet mats as standard, and the front seats are dynamic and heated. You also get LED headlights with adaptive high beam assist, and on the GT spec, cruise control becomes adaptive. Moving up to the GT Premium spec, it comes with 360 vision, which has 4 exterior cameras, one on the front, one on the rear, 2 on the door mirrors. It has a blind spot monitoring indicator. It comes with 20-inch wheels. It has rear door manual window blinds. You also get a driver and passenger seat pack, which includes 10-way electrical adjustment seats, massaging seats, adaptive bolsters, memory functions, and you also get a heated rear seat. The GT Premium pack also comes with a drive assist pack, which has driver attention alert, long range blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and highway assist 2.0, which includes semi-automatic lane change and recommended speed adaptation. This hybrid model is 145 horsepower, 6-speed dual clutch automatic. It's a 1.2 litre 3-cylinder engine with WLT figures of 50.44 miles per gallon. The plug-in hybrid is 195 horsepower, 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox. It's a 1.6 litre 4-cylinder petrol with WLT figures of 100.89 miles per gallon. The 73 kilowatt hour electric battery has 210 horsepower and has a WLTP range of 310 miles. The 97 kilowatt hour version is 230 horsepower, has a WLTP range of 412 miles. And on the GT Premium, you can select the dual motor electric version, which has a smaller battery but 325 horsepower, indicated range of 290 miles WLTP, and 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. You can have an optional tow bar fitted on any of the specs. You can also select as an extra a sunroof pack, which has a panoramic split opening sunroof, tinted with one-touch control, an electrical retractable interior blind, and 8-color ambient lighting. With that sunroof pack, the front windows become laminated and acoustic, and you have a clean cabin, optimized cabin air quality management. The Allure spec comes with a Rispy embossed fabric with quartz stitching and leather effect trim. The GT spec comes with Mistral black embossed Uziris fabric with ice clay stitching and leather effect trim. And there is a Alcantara version available for £1,100. The GT Premium spec comes with the Alcantara as standard. However, you can then upgrade to a Mistral Napa Black for another £1,450. So there we have it. Now, before we summarize, if you got this far in the video, please like, subscribe, follow, and share this video for anyone that may be interested. So the Peugeot 5008 1.2 MHEV Allure. I would like to get in the EV vehicle or the EV alternative at some point to compare if it ticks the same boxes. But overall, I think Peugeot have gone for practicality and value rather than performance. And I think it ticks all the boxes for this type of car. The price is reasonable, it's comfortable, it drives well. The 5+2 is useful, even if it's not an everyday function. The other three key points which really annoy me with the no heated seats, mats which can be given for less than 100 quid by a dealer, and the no auto tailgate. If you went for the GT or GT premium spec, you're paying a bit more, but it negates these small irks that I have. Definitely one you should consider. Thanks for watching. This is Anonymous Automotive, and this is Driven in Disguise.